Yes, hello guys, and welcome to another video today. So today I'm going to be talking to you about international transfer for minor or minor transfer. So have you ever wondered why minor don't often get or they don't get transferred? That FIFA actually say no to minor to move before the age of 18. So we're going to see how that works and why in other exceptional cases it works, like the case of probably Cesc Fàbregas, and why he moved into to Arsenal at the age of 16. So we're going to look into those deals and see or give you some tips on how you can improve your knowledge when it comes to football agent. So talking to you, I am Gaucho Brian, licensed FIFA agent living in Finland. Let's go. So let's ask, so why FIFA protect young players? That's the truth. Why do they protect young players? Because FIFA feels they are young and they cannot take decision for themselves. So just imagine you're being 16 and then you move abroad or you move to another country at 16 years old, or 17 years. So you could face exploitation, abandonment, lack of education, or unsafe condition, difficult things that you cannot cope with because you're not really fully matured to deal with the basics of life. So that's why FIFA try to regulate that. And imagine you moving to another country without your parents, without no one guiding you, looking after you. So it's quite hard. So that's why FIFA looks into this situation. But so before we continue, I'm going to give you this. Stay keen, take a pen and paper, and always try to jot one or two notes because this is going to help you always. So that's it. So first of all, no international transfer under the age of 18. So let's give an example. So I think most people know this, that if you're living in Asia, if you're living in Africa or in whatsoever part of the world, you cannot move as a football player without before the age of 18. You take, for example, like the case of when Real Madrid signed Vinicius Junior, he had to go back to Brazil to play till he turned 18 before moving over. So we have seen these cases, and that's quite normal. So there actually no transfer to move to, let's take for example, from Brazil to Europe or from Africa to Europe or to Asia to Europe. Yes, because football is based in Europe. So I always try to give the reference based as to Europe because most people final destination when they want to play real football, let me say elite level football, the target is Europe. So no, those things don't happen below 18. So, but let's look at 5 exceptional cases that those transfer can happen before turning 18. So I'm going to give you 5 cases. So as I said, take a pen and paper and jot this down for it's going to help you. So let's go. So exceptional case number 1, family relocation for non-football reasons. So let's give an example. If the player parents move to another country for non-football reason, like work, the player can register with the club there. So let's give an example. You have a child, and the child is 14 years old, and he's a very good football player. And then, but teams want to sign him, but they can't sign him. He can't sign him because he can't move there. He's not yet 18. Let's say that player lives in another country. So you can't. So the only reason, let's say, one of the reasons that the parents can, that if the parents are smart, they can look for a job in that country that the player the interest is coming from the young player. Then when the player moves there, he can play in the academy of that professional team. So this is how it goes. So this is one way of that. So that's why they say family relocation for reason non-football reason. So FIFA has to know that the parents move for non-football reason. If FIFA finds out that you move actually because of football, there's a problem with that. So that's one exception, that you have to look for a job in, let's take for example, if you're in Cameroon and then or in Ghana, Senegal, whatsoever part of Africa or in Asia, Europe, and let's say your child is very talented and Arsenal come calling for that child. If it is difficult, then you have to find the only way for you to move is find a job in UK, or look for a school in UK that you can reside there. Then you can take your child with you. That's one of the only option. That's one option. So case number two, exception two. So in EU, the transfer, this happens. The transfer happens between 16 to 18 years old, only in European community. So the transfer happens between 16 to 18 years old. So players must be 16 to 18 years old to sign a professional contract. So, and they can be guaranteed to play top tier football because they are in Europe. They can go to academy or vocational education, safe house living condition, full compliance with documentation. In Europe, it's easy for this because they can do that. Let's give an example. An example to this, you can see more of this. Like Cesc Fàbregas moved from Barcelona to Arsenal at the age of 16. So this will apply because he's at that time UK in Europe. They are Spain in Europe. So it was easy for him to move back then to do that. So that's why he moved to Arsenal. So let's take, for example, if Cesc Fàbregas was living in South America, in Brazil, he wouldn't have moved at that age. So this is how it goes. So that's quite important point. So then, so I hope you understand. So the next case now, exceptional case number 3, border rule. So the border rule within 50 kilometers. So let me explain this. So if the player and the club are both within 50 kilometers of a national border and the player stays at home, they can transfer. Must be approved for both association. So let's take, for example, your association have to approve it and the other association have to approve it. Let's take, for example, I'm living in Finland and it's 50 kilometers from, let's take, for example, Norway. I'm living the border of Finland, 50 kilometers from Norway. And that 50 kilometers, there's a team there. So I can go to that team, for example. So that is approved. That one is approved. So I hope you understand this point. So exceptional case number 4, humanitarian protection. So if the player has fled his home country, trying for protection, like a life-threatening situation, they can be recognized as refugees, can also play or join a club to play football. So that's one. Asylum seekers, of course, can only join to play for amateur clubs until they turn 18 years before they can play for professional clubs. So, and the last exception is case number 5, exchange student for academic only. So this exchange student, let me say you're an exchange student. Let's say you are 16 years and then you have an exchange program from, let's say, Asia, from Japan, and you're moving to Europe for an exchange program. Can you play football? So I explained this very well. So if the player moves abroad for school only, as part of temporary academic exchange, the transfer must be less than a year. You cannot transfer, you cannot play football for more than 2 years. So you have to have only 1 year to play the football. And there we made that the club must also be only an amateur club. So I give an example. So let's take, for example, I hope I explain this to you guys. So if I'm living in Asia, let's say if I have if a child is 16 years old living in Asia and he has a club calling for him to come and play, let's say in Europe, and then he's let's say, let's take, for example, if a child has an exchange program, if he has an exchange program and he's in Asia moving to Europe to play football, that exchange program, if you are playing football, then no matter how talented you are, you can only play for an academic, and that academic can only sign you only for 1 year. Yeah, there's nothing that they can give you a 2 years contract. So that's how it goes. So these are the rules, and always try to follow the rules and also try to learn a lot, because these things I gave you guys is going to help you a lot. Because the first thing is, when you're as I always say, when you're in a negotiation room with a sporting director or whosoever, it's good to know these rules a lot. like at the top of your head, you know that you know these things, the border rule, the 50 kilometers border rule. You know that someone cannot move from from Africa to Europe without being 18 unless these exceptions happens. So all these things are things that you try to do them, you try to learn them, to memorize them, because it's going to help you. So yes, I always try to give you guys this rule so that at least I also keep my brain fresh, because of course I'm a FIFA licensed agent, but I would like to always go into a negotiation when negotiating about a player to know a lot of these details. So it keeps me always at the top of my game. So there's one thing that someone was asking me that he would like me to do a video on. It's like players image, right? How does sponsorship deal work? How does, let me really break it down. I'm going to look at that in the future to really break how player sign sponsorship deals, how image rights work for a player in a football club. So all those things are things that I'm going to give you guys also knowledge on it. So just as I said, just keep enjoying. Yes, enjoy and learn, keep learning, because for most of you guys, it's going to help you also within for your career. It's going to help your career. So as I said, when you don't know the rules, when you enter into you enter into negotiation, you're with someone, which is a professional football club, you're panicking because you are thinking that anything you don't know what you might say. So it's always good to learn the rule, because the first most important thing for an agent or for someone, not all this content is not only for agents, sporting directors, people who are breathing everyday life of football clubs, living the dreams of working in football clubs. You still need to know this, because you might stumble upon this kind of things. What I mean by you might stumble upon this kind of things, you might find yourself in a situation that you need to use these rules. So it's always, if you're working in a football club, it's still good to have an idea about this rule. So it's quite important for you guys. So what I'll tell you guys is, okay, keep yourself busy. As I said last time, that I would like to always give an example. So Cesc Fàbregas case it's a perfect example of someone who moved at the age of 16, moving to UK. To UK to play for Arsenal. So whereas Vinicius Junior of Real Madrid had to sign and stay with Flamengo, his former team, before he turned 18. When he turned 18, before he moved. So you see how the cases are different. So you cannot move if you are from a different continent. But for example, when you're in Europe, it works under EU territory. So that's all I have for you guys. So enjoy, like, share, and subscribe, and leave me comments on this. We keep learning and enjoying the ride. So keep me any note if you want, and we'll talk about it next time. Yeah, cheers.